Nick Clegg's speech to the Liberal Party conference in Brighton was never going to be an easy one. The Liberals are in an uneasy coalition with the government, the economy's flatlining, and he really had to rally his troops. Well, he kind of did. I mean, it was a bit of a lacklustre speech. It included one dreadful joke, in fact one of the worst jokes I've ever heard in a political speech. To make blue go green you have to add yellow. And you could hear the groans all over the country at that. But politicians shouldn't do jokes. They're not there to be stand-ups, they're there to deliver a message. And one of the things that Nick Clegg tried quite hard to do was to rally his own supporters. I must say the reaction was fairly muted. Even in the section on green issues, which normally gets the LibDems going, there was polite applause rather than cheers and stamping of feet. The whole setup was done in the round, clearly so that he could be seen to be a man of the people, and behind him were arranged a fairly diverse audience to perhaps give the lie to what the impression that you might have received from watching the LibDem conference throughout, that most of the speakers turned out to be white middle-aged men. Obviously, these things are stage managed. They're set up to show the diversity of the party. The speech overall, he fluffed a few lines. He didn't really hit his claptraps too well. The claptraps are the lines designed to generate applause. I think it was a competent performance rather than a remarkable performance. In fact, the best cheer of the whole speech was when he announced Paddy Ashdown would be taking over the election campaign in 2015. And from the reaction to that, you might have thought Nick Clegg would be a bit concerned, because Paddy Ashdown's clearly a very popular figure and perhaps a little bit more popular than Nick Clegg, but then Paddy's not in government. So overall, I think he did a competent job. When his voice gets very strong, incidentally, he sounds uncannily like David Cameron, and if you close your eyes and listen to both of them, you can't tell them apart, especially when they're at full throttle. It's quite bizarre. Similar backgrounds, I guess. So I think the speech was the sort of speech that he had to deliver. It's tough in government. We're doing these sorts of things. He made one or two announcements that got some fairly polite applause, but I think overall the response was muted and competent. Oh, and the thing about the apology about the tuition fee raising and going back on that pledge, there was very little mention of that, and clearly the video that was put out last week was designed to set that issue to one side. In fact, the only reference that he made to it was when he said that his single hadn't reached the top 10, which got a small laugh. And towards the end, he brought up that old David Steele slogan of go back to your constituencies and prepare for government, or prepare for local government, as I think he phrased it. And at the end of his speech, I think he just said something like, let's go for it, which as a campaign slogan is hardly ringing. So overall, Nick Clegg, I think that was a competent speech, if unremarkable. Going to give you 5 out of 10.